Welcome to World at Work TV. I'm Allison Avalos. Joining me today is David Marshall with PerformanceCentre International. And we're talking about whether your sales plan is actually making money. David, this topic sounds a little brash. What were you thinking?
Yeah, I guess, my career spans nearly 20 years now in sales incentive comp, and you have lots of conversations with customers and talking about how do we drive the right behaviours and how do we dial up that and dial that down and all that sort of stuff. But in fact, I don't think ever anyone's actually said to me, how do we actually get our plan to make more money for the business? And maybe it's almost too obvious to actually think of it that way, but what I really encourage people to think about is really come at this from a purely financial point of view. That this is about the corporation. How do we actually make money for the corporation, rather than getting locked in on the trying to drive the human brain to driving people to do different things. Obviously, you want that to happen as an outcome of your scheme, but the first point from which you come from, the core, is the financial performance of your scheme.
You've talked about the importance of mindset. How does that come into play here?
Yeah, so I guess, leading on from this whole idea of, what is the financial performance of the plan, I really want people to think about, to kind of acknowledge firstly that, if we look at human psychology, it's still infancy around how we understand what really drives people, what makes them do the crazy things that they do. I don't want to give the impression that incentive comp plans clearly influence behaviour. There's no doubt about that. But what I'm saying is, from a mindset point of view, is that as a sales comp expert, you want your company to be successful and you want to have a successful career, right? And to do that, you need to be able to show that what you're achieving through your program is measurable, and that you're achieving success against those measures. Therefore, you need to set measures that you can control. You can't actually, if you really think about it, you can't really control people, and I don't think you should want to control people, right? What you can control is certain metrics around the efficacy of your scheme that aren't influenced by the sales training program or the market conditions or what have you. You need to focus on what are those metrics that are a result of the plan. How much are we paying out versus performance to target, and so on. How well aligned are payments to performance? What is the key performance that the company needs, and the performance that salespeople really influence? So not just revenue or margin, but getting a really clear mindset about what is the performance we need, how are we going to pay for that, and how are we going to measure that. And so so by mindset I mean, it's really that whole pay for performance mindset, so that you can focus on the metrics around that. There's another really important point around, in terms of mindset. I hear in Australia we experience this a lot, where people complain about, they want to change the plan halfway during the year. Every quarter we're trying to change the plan, and I've heard a lot of that here in Chicago, and as I go around America, and I wonder though whether we don't actually facilitate these problems, because if we have a mindset that says we can drive people's behaviour by constantly tweaking the plan, if we set that expectation for our stakeholders, then they're going to tend to want to change when anything goes wrong, or we're not quite hitting our targets or whatever, or we're not quite seeing the behaviour we'd like to see out in the sales force. There will be a tendency to go, okay, we've got to tweak the plan. And so that's why mindset's important. If you have a mindset that says, no, the reason why we're doing this program is to align pay to performance, and that is it, you then you are going to cut out that expectation that, this is actually about how we actually, in a Machiavellian way, sort of tweak and influence and drive behaviour on a day-to-day basis.
Okay, so given that, what methodology would you use to drive pay for performance?
Yeah, we have. I've seen some great methodologies and what have you, and a huge amount of detail around what are the different types of incentive levers and mechanics and all sorts of stuff. And the methodology that we've developed in Australia that's been really effective is just a really visual, clean 15-step process. We call it the Ready, Set, Go framework, and we've done that because because our stakeholders aren't experts, right? Like, we're experts in sales comp, and so are you watching this video, but you want to engage your stakeholders in a way that they can actually understand the key components of the scheme and what drives the scheme. And so we have this Ready, Set, Go framework where that's 3 steps, 5 modules per step, so that's 15 modules. And it covers both the design and the implementation. And so it's all about saying you've got to be ready before you set your design of the plan before you go and implement. And so that ready stage is really crucial around being clear on the purpose of the scheme. So again, when we talk about pay for performance mindset, the first module is all about purpose. What are the actual objectives of our pay for performance scheme? And again, it's not about being glib about, oh, we want to drive more sales or we want to reward our top performers. Obviously you want to be doing that, but what are the specific things that you're actually trying to reward and drive? We found with our customers in Australia that it's been really helpful for companies to not make knee-jerk decisions. And so one of the modules, is the 8th module in our framework, is the mechanics. What are the formula? How do you connect performance to reward? And that's the funnest part of our game, I guess. That's where people just want to jump in and get down and do all that stuff. And the benefit of our framework is that's number 8. You've actually got to get number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 correct before you get there. And again, something happens during the year where people are going, oh God, we've got to change the plan. Well, we always bring people back to number 1. Okay, what's our purpose here? Has it really changed? If the purpose hasn't changed, we probably shouldn't be changing the plans. Likewise, the next step is design principles. Have our design principles changed? Well, they shouldn't. That's what principles are. Principles shouldn't change. And yet so often we see companies changing their plans because they don't have a solid bedrock of what their purpose and principles are.
David, before this interview, you talked about making every day a game day and eliminating hidden costs. How do those points align with the idea of your sales plan actually making money?
So obviously if you want to make money, you want to have that efficiency, you want to get rid of the costs, and you want to drive your top line, meaning to make every day game day, people have to be engaged. And I talk about people being actually activated. Think about like a phone, mobile phone, for example. You're running a phone company, you send out all these mobile phones out to the retail stores, but they never get activated. That's kind of nuts, right? They're beautiful phones, but they're never activated. And I think we tend to do that with sales comp sometimes. We do these beautiful sales comp plans, huge amount of effort goes in it, but they never get actually activated. And by activated, I mean the salesperson actually activates the scheme by saying, yes, I accept the terms and conditions of this plan, and I trust the scheme, and I believe that the results are achievable. And so part of that activation is also they've actually had some sort of buy-in to the target setting process. So people, you need to activate the scheme up front so that people have accepted the scheme, they've bought into the targets, and then there's an activation process that's just ongoing. Each month you need to sort of reconnect, with if you're paying monthly or that they actually understand how they're being paid. And so you can track these things via logins to your ICM solution, through actual surveys, or actually just going out and talking to salespeople to see have they activated and bought in to the schemes. And then eliminating hidden costs is all about, we talk a lot about this iceberg of clarity above the waterline and the complexity below the waterline in terms of all the details of your plan. And I always talk about complexity being exponential, that every time you add a new detail or a new thing into your scheme, it's not a linear increase in complexity, it's actually exponential. And so very quickly you hit a breaking point where your plan becomes unwieldy to manage and also to communicate. So therefore to activate people becomes very difficult because and too many plans, in my opinion, are way too complex.
Thanks, David. That's some great information on helping your sales plan make more money for the organization, which we all want to do.
Thank you very much.
For World at Work TV, I'm Allison Avalos.